inbreeding of families and annexation of sovereign territories are two topics that are not new. Everybody thinks that because Russia is trying to annex territory of Ukraine, that that's something new. Oh my God, the Russians are bad. Well, it's kind of wrong what they're doing, and I don't agree with it. Inbreeding is something that's been happening for thousands of years also. The Iron Maiden song Powerslave. I'm going to tell you how this all connects and what I learned by researching Egyptian gods, because I was encouraged by listening to the song Powerslave. I wanted to know more about what Bruce Dickinson wrote about and the lyrics of this song. It's not only a cool song to listen to, but it takes you to another place. You could actually visualize what's happening in the story of this song. So, the characters that we have in play are Osiris, who is the husband and brother of Isis, and her sister Nephthys. Osiris is the god of fertility, afterlife, and resurrection. We also have Horus. Horus is the son of Osiris. Horus was the god of healing, protection, sun, and sky. A lot of gods that had a lot of jobs back in those days. It's just how it was, I suppose. Osiris, Isis, Nephthys, and Set are children of the god Geb and the wife, who is also a god, who was called Nut or Newt. Along the way, Set became jealous of Osiris and killed him and left him in wee pieces. I guess he was cut up into 14 chunks of meat and left all over the countryside of Egypt. And along the way, Isis and Nephthys felt that it was important for them to go collect his body parts and bury them in a respectable manner. And they kept his phallus as a symbol of rebirth, and so that he could be continue to be a god in the afterlife of fertility. So these are the things that are slightly disturbing about the gods of Egypt back in that day. Isis, the beautiful Isis, was the sister and wife of Osiris. I guess you want to keep it in the family. It is what it is. That's just how things were. I guess they trusted everybody in there, like trying to keep their bloodline clean, which was counterintuitive because it doesn't work that way. So the other thing is, their parents, Geb and Newt, they were also brother and sister. So Geb is the brother and husband of Newt. Listen to that again. Geb is the brother and husband of Newt. Must have been a wild time going back in those days. So imagine having to go get the pieces of your brother and husband who are scattered amongst the countryside, and you find his phallus. What are you going to do with it? They didn't have sophisticated refrigeration in those days. I guess they would have salted it and preserved it in some way. What are they going to do? What's Isis going to do? Is she going to wear it around her neck like a necklace pendant? Or is she going to keep it in a leather bag, which is probably what I would have done if you keep it in a salt solution inside a leather pouch? Or maybe it was just a symbolic thing where they say they kept the phallus so that his afterlife things continued to happen. Here are the first two phrases of the song Powerslave, written by Bruce Dickinson and performed by the band Iron Maiden. If you haven't figured it out by now, it's my favorite band. Yay! Song starts out, "Into the abyss I fall, the eye of Horus. Into the eyes of the night, watching me go. Green is the cat's eye that glows in this temple. Enter the risen Osiris, risen again. Tell me why I had to be a power slave. I don't want to die. I'm a god. Why can't I live on? When the life giver dies, all around is laid waste, and in my last hour, I'm a slave to the power of death." There is the idea right there. Continued life, resurrection. Your soul keeps living on and on and on and on and on. Many of us will take this song meaning that nothing is really forever and that change is unavoidable. No living thing, deity, president, anybody has to live life and then they're going to suffer death. We all will. It's inevitable. We will all die. It's just part of life. There are peaks and valleys in our life. We start off as children. We struggle. We struggle to get somewhere and provide for our families. And that's kind of like the peak of our lives. Kind of in our world, our society today, anytime between the 30 and 60 is basically the peak of our lives. That's when we are the strongest and we produce the most and we are the wealthiest. I know there are caveats to that, but generally, those are the strongest years for most Americans. Your life and your wealth may or may not decline, but you're going to start slowing down at some point, and somebody's going to be there to take your place. Somebody's going to drive my coach after I'm done and retired. When my father retired from the fire department, somebody took his place. It's the evolution of life. It just is what it is. When a god dies, another one takes his place. Sometimes it's exacerbated or expedited by jealousy, as in this case. As I go through and re-engage myself in these Egyptian gods and the first Iron Maiden song that I'm going to go back and revisit, I wonder if this is where Cynthia Albritton had gotten her idea from. This is not the PG section of the video, by the way. There's another very famous rock band called Kiss, and you might say they're moderately sexually active. That was part of their thing. Well, Cynthia had this art where she would make plaster casts of the band's appendages. So, first time I tried to record this video, I had to laugh so hard. And anyway, I still find that kind of stuff funny. Hey, to each their own. If you need to have a plaster model of somebody's thingy, that's up to you. Taking the phallus of your brother and husband, hopefully as a symbol and not as a real thing, that's just pretty powerful stuff. And that's how it was back in the day. They didn't have YouTube and other ways of entertaining each other. It's like you basically got up, you ate, you messed with the gods from the other side of the river or whatever, tried to cause war. Who knows? Who knows what life was like back then? It sounds pretty cool, but I wouldn't want to live there. The idea of annexing territory from another sovereign nation is not new. Like, everybody's freaking out right now because Russia is annexing territory from Ukraine. It's not a new idea. It's not a new concept. It's been going on for thousands of years. If one country wants what another country has, they're going to try to take it. It's the way it is. I don't agree with it. I'm on Ukraine's side in this situation, but whatever. We're not here for that. In the days of Horus, after Osiris was dead, the Romans annexed most or all of Egypt and introduced Christianity. The days of Egyptian gods were waning away. Only the diehards really worshipped the Egyptian gods of the sun and all that other stuff. They were falling by the wayside. The idea of inbreeding. My family doesn't have that problem. That doesn't mean the problem doesn't exist. All you have to do is watch the reruns of Jerry Springer or any of the other shows, Phil Donahue. There was always stories about inbreeding and people having children with their brothers and sisters or mothers, and it's a pretty disgusting thing. In the days of Egyptian gods, brothers and sisters had children. They became husband and wife with the idea of keeping their bloodline clean. We all know that it doesn't work that way, but they didn't have the science or technology to prove that back in the day. They believed that's what worked. Thankfully, that didn't become the norm for all societies, because we'd have a hell of a lot more problems than we do now. Anyway, thanks for listening to me banter about my enjoyment of listening to Iron Maiden all these years. And maybe you learned something. You have a nice day. Thanks for stopping by. Ciao.